All right. You are here rocking with the Guru's Rant. And we're going to cover a few things today. We're going to cover some NFL, talk about, some teams and what they have going on. Although you really can't read that much in the preseason. We're going to talk a little bit about Michael Orr, all right, and that whole crazy thing that's going on. And we're going to talk Colorado football because football is right around the corner for college. All right. So let's start with this Michael Orr situation here. Uh, you know, I never seen the movie, right? The Blind Side. And one of the reasons that I didn't watch it is because, when I was watching the excerpts on television, he was acting like he didn't know what a bed was, and you know, uh, it was just like this big young kid in a football uniform, and basically acting like he was clueless about life in general at that stage of his life, which I believe was around 17, 18 years old. I think the movie was was a poor depiction of him, and I saw that before all of this stuff came out. I said, you know what? If the boy doesn't know what a bed is by the age of 18, then he must have been living under a rock somewhere. I can understand dramatic license for a movie, but this went way over the top. You know, uh, I I was happy for his success. Playing at Ole Miss and making it to the NFL. I believe they said he made around like $20 million in his career. Played in two Super Bowls. So he had a pretty good career for a football player. However, um, when the movie came out, it grossed a little over $300 million. And I always wondered, but I didn't pay any attention to it because I just figured, he's going to get paid for this movie. I mean, he's going to get paid something. But this conservatorship thing that they have, I'm sure a lot of people were aware of it, or people who are aware of it who might have had to go through uh, some type of ordeal with the conservatorship. But basically, he wasn't adopted, you know. And if you listen in the movie, and again, I haven't seen it, but the excerpt for the movie, he was like, I thought I already was family. Well, turns out he wasn't. Conservatorship basically gave the family the right to make decisions for him, even over the age of 18. Now, they say they needed a conservatorship so he could go to Ole Miss. I need someone to investigate that and see uh, if there's any validity behind that. Honestly, because I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and I can't really explain the conservatorship. Only other than the fact that you basically are still under the control of adults. They make your decisions for you. I don't even understand why he would need one, even to get in Ole Miss. And again, like I said, someone can look into that. But the movie grossed over 300 million. They say they haven't made any money, any real money off of it. But 2.5% of 300 over 300 million, you do the math. They need to be audited. Now, I know they were millionaires before, and they can say they don't need the money, but what millionaire doesn't want more money? What millionaire doesn't try to grease other people's pockets? That's how they become millionaires, a lot of them. So, to the notion that they don't need the money, I don't care if they sold 117 fast food restaurants. People who have a lot of money want more of it. They never want to run out. So, yeah, that right there kind of raised a red flag. And him not knowing what a bed is, saying, you mean a bed? Like, who approved the script? I tell you who did. The Tui, Mr. Tui, the gentleman who supposedly was the father figure. He said it right there on was it Below the Deck? I believe that show. He seemed like, and the captain asked, like, how did this come about? I know he wanted to say, like, wait a minute, man, how did you stumble upon this young man? I mean, like, what are the chances you're going to stumble across a 5-star player that happens to go to the NFL, and then you're going to write a movie about it, and then you're going to get to either approve the script or unapprove the script, as he says in that piece in the show Below the Deck. You can go look. There's a copy of it on YouTube. Just type that in, and it'll bring it up. But it just seems like people who knew Michael Sam should have been like, well, what are you making out of this? What are you making? And turns out with the conservatorship, they don't have to give him anything. They like froze him out. Now they say they have 14,000. Each of them got 14,000. Again, like someone needs to check all that out. That can be found out. That all that information can be found out. All of it. There's a paper trail. And there's a motive here. These people are from Mississippi. Okay. They're boosters for Ole Miss, who still probably allows Confederate flags in the Grove, their famous Grove, where they do pregame cookouts and stuff. That's where they go for their tailgating and stuff. And it's been a common practice for ever since, football's been a part of their school. And this guy's deep rooted from Mississippi. What man that doesn't look like him who lives in Mississippi? Not all, but most of them that look like him wouldn't try to benefit from someone like Michael Oher. Okay, you say, my thing was to keep him fed. I don't doubt that they cared for him, but there was a motive there. I just don't make it seem like he just stumbled upon this kid. I believe there was a concerted effort to meet him, and so all this stuff can take place. As far as Sandra Bullock, doing the movie, when you look back at it, and again, just seeing pieces of it, even she was kind of culpable. Like, wait a minute, he doesn't know what a bed is? Like, I really have to engage with him in this way? Like, he doesn't know what a bed is? Oh, he doesn't know how to block? NFL players like him just don't blossom out of the clear blue when someone sweeps them into their household. So I know all of this is going to be laid out eventually. And so keep in tune, but I just wanted to cover that a little bit. Let me just add, I am on the side of Michael Oher because, it's about him. It's his life. So yes, he should get paid. And whatever money he didn't receive or whatever he should be given a percentage of, whatever the two he's got, that needs to be handed over to him. That they need to get their cut. He needs to get his cut, And I believe that the Tories are disingenuous when it comes to this whole thing. They can say, well, we have money. Again, I covered that part. And they can say that they cared for him. But I would be interested in knowing how they met him. How did that come about? And you just happen to be a booster for Ole Miss. And you're doing it. You did all this with your wife and stuff out of the goodness of your heart. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. And I don't think it takes, I mean, any person can agree with me. It just sounds fishy. But anyway. All right. Let's go to Colorado, shall we? The season is almost upon us. September 3rd is coming up. And Colorado, for whatever it's worth, getting ready for TCU down in Fort Worth, Texas. They will be headed to Fort Worth, Texas. And again, I'm going to stick to my guns with this. I don't know if anyone else is buying this circus, with, Deion Sanders, coaching the Colorado Buffaloes and putting these kids basically under the 8-ball. I think he just thinks he can build a roster just the way he wants to and, just plug people in and that's going to work. I think he also doesn't realize that he's not famous anymore. Again, he hasn't been in the limelight for years, but he loves to keep his name, somehow relevant through his kids who are college football players for him. And listen, I'm not, this is no attack on the players themselves, right? They're young men. They're going to go out there and try to do the best they can. But my thing is the way it's being done. The carefully orchestrated interviews, these clandestine practices where you won't let the media in except the ones that are doing a show with Uncle Neely. They're basically kissing your ass, just so they can get some access. They realize that you're just a stop in town. And keep in mind, there's Colorado Buffalo fans, and then there's Deion fans. And the two doesn't mix. The two do not mix. And let me explain to you why. The people who are invested, Colorado Buffalo fans, okay, their hearts into it. Okay, they didn't show up for the game, but they always want a winner. They support their university. They have a storied past a little bit, although it's not as decorated as most schools. The great Eric Bieniemy, who's now the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, Darian Hagan, who I believe is on that staff, and probably should have had a more prominent role. He has a lot of knowledge, vast knowledge at that QB position. So they do have a history, and the thing is, anybody, even the ones who are Colorado fans, who are diehards, they are even treated like outsiders by Deion's fans. You understand what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I believe his name is Brian Windhorst. I could be saying his name wrong. He's with Go Buffs or whatever. I can't, forgive me. But he is a good reporter. He's been doing this for about 10 plus years with the Colorado Buffaloes. He's invested, and he asks really good questions about what's going on. Their jobs are limited because Deion won't give them access. He's making every press conference about him. Just answer the damn question. If you weren't so focused on you probably could have answered the question better from the reporter who asked you about your son obviously being entrenched as a starter. But you so on defensive mode that it just went over your head. You just felt like, oh my gosh, like, how dare you ask me that question? You don't want to talk about culture. You don't want to, culture is whatever. You don't want to describe a culture, except the way you want to. All they're doing is asking you. What is it that you are, what kind of environment do you have in place for your players to have continuity, to gel, to, what's the atmosphere like? Are they friends? Do they watch film together? Things like that. And being, asked the question, obviously Shedeur is entrenched as a starter. That's a fair question. That's a fair statement because you said it at your first press conference. That's what you said. Okay. But the question was with the QBs behind him. And, you're not even giving any details on him. Shedeur is pretty good, but you're not satisfied by who's behind him. But yet you say there's competition at every position and that you have a good rotation on the offensive line and that you have a good rotation at receivers and that you got guys who can high point the ball and go get it. But you're not talking about the most important position on the field, which is the backup quarterback. Who has emerged? That's a fair question. And to say that none of them have shows you how he feels about him. He's going to make sure there's no competition. The quarterback who was there last year, who was willing to stay there and fight for the job and try to impress Deion, even if he had lost the job, he would have been a backup. He was working out with Shedeur, but the plan all along was to get rid of him. All along. just to get rid of them. Why? Because you don't want any competition at the QB position, which is the most on the field. Um, you know, and people will say, "Well, I'm hating, and uh, I'm not like I'm just this like black man hating on another black man." No, that's not it at all. You run off all these kids that are on scholarship. Some of them even can't even find another place to play. You know, they took a chance because you didn't want them. And you even said, for those who don't quit, we're going to try to run you off. But yet you say you care about kids. I can understand you flipping the roster. But that was where I knew, and he did it at Jackson State. He just didn't get as much fanfare because it was at HBCU. But I believe he flipped a lot of those recruits too. All right. But when you come to a place like Colorado and you butcher that roster, and you can make the excuse that, oh, okay, well, they were 1-11. Like one coach said, it's not a lot of, there were some players on there that weren't 1-11 players. And if you're a coach, why can't you coach them up? Okay, I can understand you can get some of your players, but you upset a lot of people, and then you sound like a hypocrite, like you really care. You know who we know? We only know Shador, Shiloh, Travis Hunter. We know about Charlie Arfordall is because you keep pretending like you love him, but he still can't get a scholarship. You praise him, and what do we say in this world? Don't tell me you love me, show me. Don't say I'm all great, and I'm a great worker, and man, you really bust your butt here. Show me on my paycheck. Don't tell me. So that's the deal with Charlie Offerdahl. But those are the ones that are getting most of the pub, obviously, as you can see. And another thing, they have jerseys now that fans or whoever can buy online. And guess whose numbers that they don't have out of all those jerseys? Shador's, Shiloh's, and Travis's. Cormani's is, but those three, right? If you look online for a Colorado Buffalo jersey with one of the players on it, right? Because the NCAA, they leave the names off because of that Johnny Manziel thing. So no, you can use them. They can use the merchandise of the school in order, to make the jerseys. It's obviously a Colorado jersey, but don't you think it's odd that Travis, Shador, and Shiloh, those are the only three numbers that you cannot get for order? Why is that? Is that a money grab for them? Why? I mean, if they so support the university, I'm talking about Dion, talking about, oh, I love Colorado and I love the weather. If he talks about the weather and the beautiful air one more time, I'm just gonna bump my head, bang my head against the wall. Quit talking about that. We don't care about the altitude. We know it's high up there. We know it's hard to breathe. You act like you haven't been out of Florida. I know you have. So, that's the whole thing. That is the whole thing with Prime. And what's going on is that it's all about business. It's all about business. And I hope someone asks him the question, why is Shador's, Shiloh, and Travis Hunter's numbers omitted from the jersey sales? Because they want a certain cut of it. So this is all business. So guess what? We're going to treat it like business. The time is now, right? You flipped about 70 players and you don't get any grace. You don't have to win. You have to win now. You talking all that trash. And another thing, you have like 10 to 12 portals, YouTube portals out there. So, all these people who are saying, all these DDRs, they stand for Dion, you know what? I hope they're still there, when the season starts. And I want to hear what they're going to have to say when they're losing. I mean, I really want to hear it. I want to hear these experts saying Shador is this. You know what we've seen at practice? We see a clean pocket. Okay, yeah, he's making some good throws. I question the level of, the quality. I know these young men are working as hard as they can, but I do question the quality of the skill position players. Let's just face it. And if you look at the media, if you look at the practices, they do have some clips of the practices. I want y'all to watch and see how that pocket is. See how the pocket is. He has more time than you do in a flag football game back there. So we don't know what we're seeing. And when you're throwing 22 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, as they proclaim, you did. Okay, we expect those things coming this season. But the thing is, they're small. They look like a junior college football team, and they don't have the size. So I'm gonna leave it at that right now. I'm gonna leave it at that right now with Colorado. Right, we got 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and we'll see what happens when they play. I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to say it here first. I have them going on 12. I know that's like people are saying 3 games. I don't see 3 wins. And if someone does, please tell me who they are. No one will ever say who the 3 wins are going to be. I don't see a win. Okay? Maybe Cal, but that coach came from Sacramento State. He's going to have those players ready to play. I do not see a win. All right. So Guru Rant is going to put his ticket in at Vegas at 0-12. All right. That's where I'm going to put it. Everyone else want to go with 3 wins. That they want to go with 3 wins is because that's what they're hearing everyone else say. All right. They're only 6 deep on offensive line, and you know how they're really struggling for recruits. They tried to get a couple guys in there who really don't even belong at Colorado. All right, that is an academic. That school is academic. That's a high academic school of the Midwest. He knows. Dion knows that those guys who one of them is waiting. He went to Louisiana Monroe. I think he's a Raging Cajun for 3 years. Then he played at Jackson State. That's year 4. And Dion is trying to get him a waiver to play this season. And the NCAA is kind of like, I don't think so. Why would you put the man in that situation? He knows he's so desperate for help on that line. He's supposed to be one of his best linemen. And then there was another guy who was deemed academically ineligible. They're not ineligible. They're not saying academic, but saying ineligible. But that is the reason, along with the fact that eligibility issues. And now Deion says, well, I'm on top of everything. I know everything that's going on. Where's the compliance? Like, there's no compliance. Obviously, you guys dropped the ball on that because these young men are left in limbo, and they should have known. But they're following you. You're trying to squeeze guys in there. So he's desperate. All right. I wish those young men luck, as much luck as you're going to get, under this man. So that's that. All right, let's move on to the NFL. So yes, we have 3 preseason games this year for each team. It's nice to see Trey Lance doing a little better. He had a pretty good game today. Threw some really nice passes. Let's see who else. The Cowboys, my team. They looked. I'm not going to read too much into it because, our players weren't obviously out there. This is an audition for, the second half of the 53-man roster unit to evaluate. So we lost, I believe, but It's looking good. And again, like I've been watching football for 45 years, and preseason is just preseason. You can find a diamond, you find some diamond in the roughs or some players who could really play. But as far as overall continuity and knowing what your team is going to really look like because it's preseason games, no, you're not going to find anything out. Only thing you're going to discover is new talent, pretty much. That's what you're going to discover in the preseason. So, don't get caught up in the scores and everything. But I do like the way uh, a lot of the players are playing. I like seeing these young guys come in who are not highly talented, who are making like waves, and the guys who are highly talented and are living up to the name. So that's a beautiful thing. And I just want to have a great season. You know, I don't want anyone suffering any type of major injury or God willing or any type of catastrophic injury or anything like that. Prayers out to Isaiah Bolden, Jackson State, Florida State University player, rookie New England Patriots. I was made aware that he had a little scare on the field, but he does have movement in all his limbs, and he's going to be held for a few days for evaluation. So prayers to him and his family, and I hope he recovers, which I'm sure he will. But get ready for a good season. NFL, college football. It's going to be a lot of exciting topics coming with both college and NFL. So stay tuned with that, and we'll follow this Michael Oher thing as much as we can. But this is the Guru Rant, and I want to give a shout out to the Colorado media for like stepping up, asking him questions regardless of whether he likes it or not. Brian Windhorst, keep doing your thing. I like the fact that you did not back down from him and you stood your ground and you said, yeah, I'm fine with it. So, Denver media, keep doing your work and, don't hold this guy's hand because, just because he's brought money and attention and eyes on Colorado, we know the main thing is that it's got to translate into wins. All that money is good, but if y'all don't win, people will not show up again, even if he is there. He cannot get the top recruits. If you get one or two, okay, but you need about 20 blue chippers, 25. All right, so these big announcements on his 1,000 media portals of Cormani McClain or certain other players, those are just one or two individuals, and they still have to develop. You lose your star once you get to college. Now you got to prove yourself. So we're looking out for that, and I look forward to seeing it and giving you guys some more commentary. So this is Guru Rant, and I'm out. Thank y'all